Hey everyone, this is Matt, drawingtutorialsonline.com. I am so not ready to go live here today, but we're live and I better be ready. How's everybody doing out there? Sorry I missed you all last week. We were at the School of Visual Arts teaching a pre-college class. It went really, really well. It was super fun. Here we go. Okay, we got sound. Okay, awesome. Hey, Phoenix, welcome. Brain Frog, welcome. And I'm going to try to do a better job keeping my mouth in front of this microphone. Baruch, welcome. Yeah, a couple people had mentioned, Matt, your microphone, like it sucks. Like when you move it away, like we can't hear you. And I have this microphone just because I've got 2 dogs, a wife that works from home, a 19-year-old, a 23-year-old, and my house gets extremely noisy. So the worst thing is when you're filming and your dogs are barking because the Amazon driver's here delivering a package and you start having anxiety. So I just need to be more conscious of keeping my mouth in front of this microphone and not moving away from it. Hey, Kat, welcome. Hey, Baruch, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for that comment. I appreciate you. So what are we going to do here today? Well, basically today we're just going to do a figure drawing. I've got 2 poses. I don't know. I kind of want to get back into doing like a longer one. So, you stay with me for as long as you can. Maybe I'll do 2 short ones and then I'll see how I feel and I'll do like a longer one. I've got 2 photos and okay. So back to a quick little story while Pelprek, welcome. While we're just waiting for a couple more people to join us here today. Hold on one second, Matt, keep mouth in front of microphone. Okay, so last week, the pre-college, it was great. We had a 9 to 12 class. It's so interesting how the classes were just completely different. The 9 to 12 class was really quiet, really studious, barely spoke. I guess it was because it was in the morning. And then my afternoon class was like off the charts, like wouldn't stop talking. And so it was good to see the differences, and I was very happy that everyone was making friends. It was a great week. We had good models. Everything that I teach there, I teach here. Everything I teach here, I teach there. It's a little different when you're in person with the teacher. Live streams are great, but in person's even better because it's fun. I draw on their drawing pads. I help them out, and it's awesome. So, all right, with that being said, let's get started now. Alrighty, so let me see. Let me switch cameras here. And all right, keep mouth in front of microphone, Matt. Okay, so let's go to these models should be covered up. Yes, okay, so let's go to this scene. I would like to draw this one. I would like to draw this one in a longer pose. However, I know there's some of you who like when I do the shorter ones. And so the other pose that I have here is, one second, I got too much open here. This one. And I liked this one because it's looking down at, and I think they're both kind of cool. I like them both equally. I like the light and shade better on this photo that you see on your screen right now. The light and shade on the other one is a little bit more minimalistic, but there's other things that I can teach on the other one. So yeah, what do y'all think? See it develop. I love the longer poses. Okay, brain frog, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, you're not here for me to deliberate. You're here to learn how to draw, and that's what I'm going to help you do. And so maybe we'll just get started with the seated pose. And I'm going to do a warm-up of it first, just so I can see where I'm at. Okay, and then we'll go from there. So let me switch to this one. And quite frankly, this one's a little bit easier. Now, I have my... Hold on one second. What am I doing? I'm moving my photo reference vertical on my iPad, bringing it closer. Sorry for the arm in the camera. Okie dokie. I want to do one last thing. I'm a big believer in putting this down on the sheet of paper because it immediately makes that piece of paper look lighter. At least it should. Let's do a warm-up session before we start to draw. Okay, time out. Just getting a sheet of paper here, a small like little piece that I can use as a warm-up sheet. And I'm just looking for the front texture. There we go. I always put this like little letter F when I'm taking pieces of paper out of my pad. That kind of shows it's the front of the paper because there is a definitive difference between the front and the back of the paper in terms of its texture. Now, let me just tape this down and we'll get started, okay? And I'll teach you some techniques here. I still want to do a little warm-up. Baruch, hey Matt, CS-shaped changed my life, especially when drawing the leg, the inner thigh to the outer calf shape. Yeah, my leg's looking smooth now. Awesome. Yeah, opposite C's. Absolutely. Now, most of my cola races, I have new cola races, but most of them are very small like this. So I had this wonderful student give me this pencil extender from Korea, and I just kind of put this in there. You got to put a little piece of tape there so it sticks, and it's good when you're working with like really, really short pencils, because I don't like the vibe of like a really short pencil. Okay, so let me mark the top, okay, and let me mark the bottom of my scrap piece of paper here. Now, I'm just going to scribble. Just want to do a quick, this pencil feels pretty good on this paper. It's fairly light. Yes, I will zoom in. I know this is kind of far away, but let's just get started this way. So you know me, I like to do this, ovals, and then I love to do the letter C, the opposite letter C. And we'll start the drawing this way. The letter C, the opposite letter C, the letter C, the opposite letter C. Okay. So now, if I wanted to, I always like to start with the torso. You do not need to start with the torso. So I'll start with the opposite letter C over here. So this would be the rib cage. And then I will go to, let me see something here. And then I will go to the opposite letter C, which is the abs / oblique / hip. And then I will go to the opposite C, which is the hip, the other hip. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in just a touch here because this is a little bit too far away, especially if you're looking at this on a phone. It might be too zoomed out. So I'll do that first. And yeah, hold on, my bad. I'm a little rusty here with this camera. Okay, better. So that would be this, right? It's the same thing. So now what I can do is I could keep going. You know, I can draw the legs together. So for me, I'm always starting with that torso. And then sometimes, depending on the pose, I like to draw the legs together. So now let's just stick with the torso. So I'm going to say, okay, cool. Let's come back over here and let's just draw bottom of the breast. This is my warm-up drawing. Rib cage, let's do a little bit in the center. We don't want to leave that out. And so my warm-up drawing is a train wreck, okay? It's a train wreck. So I'm going to make this, look, measure line. What is right up above from the hip? Oh, my God. Okay, so the rib cage is over here. So now I'll just kind of go back to what I like to do, which is continuous line with these opposite C's. So let's get some stuff going on in the center. Again, this is my warm-up sketch, and this is almost, let's call it like a 5-minute drawing. So this navel, and then we've got this triangular area and a little bit of the pelvis. So right away, I'm starting to draw the torso, and the hip is being pushed up on over here, and then gravity's pulling down that hamstring. So that would be my first step, right? Now, if I wanted to, if I was not feeling confident, what I can do next is I can just start to draw with some value. I think this is important. Even like on a warm-up, I'll get the bottom of the rib cage. We'll get the navel. I'll come over here and I'll do like a little bit of shading, something like that. And then it's totally okay to do a warm-up drawing with some shapes of shadow. Gesture short style drawings don't always need to be done just with line. So now I come up and I adjust that, and I can go back over this. Cool. So I like that torso as my warm-up. And that's really working for me. So now if I wanted to, let's take a look here. So I could say, let's draw this to the foot, give yourself a target. And this is a little bit diving down a little bit too much. So I'll raise that. And now maybe this is the lower legs together. So I've got, this foot, and something tells me something's off there, but that's okay. So I'm going to just connect the feet with an imaginary kind of gestural line. I'm going to get the angle of the front of those toes, and then this is fairly vertical. So now I lean back, and sure, okay, maybe that leg is a little bit too long, but in reality, I'd rather have that leg longer than shorter. 5 days out of a 7-day week, all day long. I hate short legs. So that's just my aesthetic. Your aesthetic doesn't need to be my aesthetic. So if I'm going to make a mistake, I would much rather go longer than shorter. So let me just look, a slaw jack. Wait, is this practice drawing for the final drawing? Yes, it is. It is. I'm just trying to figure some stuff out. Okay, and I'm trying to loosen up my hand, and I also am trying to show you some techniques before I dive into just drawing. So what was the first technique? So the first technique was our opposite C's. The second technique was drawing things together, aka both upper legs together in this shape, both lower legs together in that shape. And so now if I come back up top over here and I look for the shoulder, and then the arm, so that is so much higher than the breast. So another thing I need to look out for when I do my final drawing is I need to look at the bottom of the breast and the top of that leg. How far away is that? So, sure, this scapula area of the rib cage, maybe that needs to go higher, and maybe the shoulder needs to start here. And what I would do next is just draw the shape of the arms together, encompassing, I can't say that word, enclosing the portrait. So that's the top of our model's hair, that's the elbow, that's the upper arm. So I didn't get that shape correct, but we basically have 3 shapes right now in this drawing. So we have shape number 1, which is what I'm outlining over here. That is the torso peanut shape. We have shape number 2, which is the legs together. And I like to come on in and overlap. So this is shape number 2, shape number 2. To the bottom, I'm closing that shape. And then shape number 3 is basically the arms and the head together, enclosing the negative space. So I've got 3 basic shapes that make up the form of this pose. Now, other things that I need to do when I go to the final drawing, I really, really need to look at the distance of that negative space. I'm glancing at that. I need to say what I'm going to hit the shift key on my keyboard thinking I'm in Photoshop, so I'll freehand it. What is right below the shoulder? That is a measure line. I'm also looking at, the angle of that upper leg. That's going to be really, really helpful. And then another thing I'm looking at is this distance, and now I judged it wrong. So this needs to be longer. I think it's too short, and I thought it was longer. I'd rather have it longer. So yes. Now, in terms of basic shape, I think it's always good to understand what's the direction of the light source. Let me zoom in just a touch here. Okay, so the direction of the light source is coming from the the right side. Time out. There we go. There we go. And yeah, okay, so the shadow is on top. The light's coming from the top. right, the shadow is on the underplanes. So this is a top plane, this leg. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to scribble in that this foot is extremely silhouetted, has a silhouetted shape. It's really powerful to draw with shapes. And that needs to be moved over. So what I should also do is take a freaking measurement mat, like, hey, what's right up above from this model's heel? And if I go straight up, and I'm drawing parallel, hopefully, with the edge of my paper, but I'm going to hold like my pencil up to the heel, it's the chin. It's the edge of this breast. So I got that wrong. Okay. So now I need to measure more when I go to that final. So I'm seeing this, and so this is much longer than a 3-minute sketch now. Now we're like, how far are we into this live stream? 15 minutes. Okay, yeah, I've been talking. So let's just say it's 10 minutes. So I also do believe it's important to shade that arm silhouetted. I think shapes are so undervalued. And shapes are like so much easier than outlines. And I will just put in a little bit of tone over here, a little bit of tone over here, just to kind of get the vibe. And so what this also does when you're drawing the figure is it helps you to figure some things out very, very quickly because you're using shapes versus if you just did, you know, outline, legs together, lower legs, feet, legs together, outline, oval for the head. And, you know, you can do it this way, and that's cool, but I think it's better to incorporate these shapes. Okay. Let me just look at some of these comments, people. So if you have time, can you demonstrate how you would approach a quick gesture drawing? So yeah, I'll do a quick one before I get started with this drawing. Quick gesture. That is a open-ended question. There's 30-second drawings, there's 1-minute drawings, and there's 2-minute gestures. So they're all like a little bit different. So let me just put this piece of paper here, and which one's the front? I guess I didn't mark this one. Okay. I'm just looking for texture. Let me get some tape. And I'm just going to do one more thing, and then we'll get started with this drawing, okay? I mean, that's part of the live stream. I'm here to help everyone with answering some questions. Gesture drawing. So if I'm going to do a gesture of this pose, I might I might just come on in and just quickly draw my torso peanut shape. I might just kind of come on down with a line of action to that foot, and I might come on in over here with my letter C. My opposite C suggests that. Just a quick letter C for the front of the model's face. And I might just do something like that with some shape. I'll do a little bit now in the middle, and we're just about at a 30-second pose. That's my 30-second pose. Okay, a little bit shorter than 30. Now, if I keep going, I'm going to throw in like a little bit of tone, and I could also now start to press down like a little bit harder on my pencil and come on in, and I'll do some continuous line. I'll put some tone over here, and I'll do a little bit of the heel. That's my 1-minute pose. Okay, so now 2 minutes. With 2 minutes, I'll say, okay, I need to slow my butt down, and I want to be like a little bit more studied. So I might just, 2 minutes, I might just indulge and draw like a little bit more of a studied edge. I'll do like a little bit more in the middle. I'll do some form line over here. I'll do something like that. And I'll press down like a little bit harder, be a little bit more aggressive. I'll start to do some mummy lines that wrap around. I might do like a couple of ribs right over here, and I might start to just shade and use like a little bit of continuous line. So that could be my 2-minute gesture pose. The thing that I'm not doing enough of is I'm not doing enough form lines in the middle. But what you have to understand about 2-minute gestures. Yeah, there are times when I do some really beautiful 2-minute gestures. Today, like there's days when you're on, there's days that you're off. I'm not saying I'm off. I'm not saying I'm on. I don't love this, but it is what it is. And I think it's just important that you don't try to do it this way. Like people, and this was the biggest thing I had to take away from like my students, where they would draw the edge and they would keep like lifting their pencil off the paper, and then they'd go to the other side, keep lifting their pencil off of the paper, and then come on down to the butt, and then draw this leg, keep lifting their pencil off of the paper, draw the legs like individually, keep lifting their pencil off of the paper, and then coming on down. Multiple lines for just like one edge, and multiple lines for just like one edge. This is what you do not want to do. And then if we come on up, they'll do like an oval for the head, and then they start to outline the arm, and the arm has straight lines, which is an absolute no-no. And there's no straight lines on the human body. And then they'll draw straight lines, and then what they'll do is they'll just leave the oval for the head, and there's nothing in the middle of the pose. So this is what you do not want to do. This is better because, number one, we did not outline everything. Outlines are the kiss of death. That made my 17-year-old students laugh last week. The kiss of death. Outlines are the kiss of death. Lifting your pencil off of the paper constantly. Now you are drawing a body that is wrapped in fur. And it's no longer the human body. Like the human body has gravity, and these lines are kind of drooping, and they're cleaner, and it's more continuous line. But what you've got to do is roll occasionally, like roll the lines in and around the form. Like over here, where that leg ends, don't end it with a straight line like that. Curve it around a little bit. Don't curve it all the way around, just a little bit, and have it disappear. Are these things making sense to everybody? Okay, let me just see something here, and I think I think I'm warmed up enough now. So I think you kind of got it. At least I hope you got it. Any questions? Sorabai, people do that all day long. Like I've seen figure drawings where the edge of just like one arm has like 10 lines, and that is just a nervous line. How do you get out of that? It's just a habit. It's just a habit where you constantly lift your pencil off of the paper. This is a legit thing that I see in almost like 90% of students that come to my class for the first time. Legit. It's a serious issue, and it's something that you need to practice. So the way that you get out of that habit, because it really just is a habit, I'll do it over here so I don't smudge everything, is that you just simply draw a weird, funky, organic shape, and then you drive your car. This is the analogy. You drive your car on the racetrack, and you try not to go off of the racetrack. This is a flat, two-dimensional shape. It's just for finger dexterity, and you're practicing drawing on top of one line, and you're also practicing going slower. And yes, you are practicing not lifting your pencil off of the paper. Now, when you try this, maybe it's going to look like this, where you start and then you lift off. And then there's like a straight line, and I went off the track. Oh, God, I crashed into the wall, and then you lift off again, and you lift off again. So it's just practice, right? Now, if you want to be like a rock star, you could also do this, and now cruise around, lift your pencil off. Cruise around, lift in, lift your pencil off the paper. Do these curved three-dimensional lines. If you don't like that, you can just kind of go around, and we can start to make this feel rounder by doing these quote-unquote form lines. So I think you really need to kind of be like a little bit studied like that, and then you also need to be loose. So that is studied, and then this is loose. Does that make sense? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Furry up, humans. You got it. So, all right. Now, maybe I need to draw this drawing for y'all. Okay. So, I'll close with this with the gesture. I could, let me get my drawing pad. Let me get my drawing pad from this week. It's right over there. Give me a second. I don't know what's in here, and I don't know. Just bear with me. I know I'm away from the microphone. I'm trying to stay with the microphone. I'm just looking for a drawing that I did from the model as a gesture drawing, And most of these are out of my imagination. Doggone it. Okay. Um, there's none that are from the model. Everything is out of my imagination. Okay. I'm going to say that this is out of my imagination. Let me hold it over here. It's too big, but yeah, that's my gestural look and feel to the drawing. And it's just, and then next to it, I did a demo of what some of the students are doing with the wrong pencil. Okay, so yeah, let me put this pad down. It's going to be a little annoying because my voice is going to be off the microphone. And let's get started with this drawing. Okay. So I'm going to remove this stuff, and then I'm maybe going to start a little slower. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see where this takes us. Yeah, the legs are way too short on that. My goodness gracious. I'm glad that I saw that. It's a combination. The legs are too short. The torso is too long. I'm telling you, practice that. I'm telling you. People take that opposite C thing out of context. Last thing. What am I talking about? They take it out of context when I teach it. And the students, maybe a student learned it, but they didn't master it yet. So the student will do the opposite C thing, and it looks like this, where they do both sides of the rib cage, and then they do like the waist, and then they do the legs, and they're thinking that the opposite C's are on both sides. Like, that is not opposite C's. That is outlining somebody with these curved lines that are pinching together. That's not how you do it. You do it where it rolls in, and then we go to the other side, and maybe that's the navel, and then I use my own like continuous line, and then I do like a little breasting. So it's way more organic. And when people see like I teach this, and there may be a student is showing another teacher, and they're like, "Oh God, that's awful! Like, look at that. That your teacher taught you how to draw that way," and they're not understanding the full context of this rhythm with the opposite C's and wrapping lines in and around the form. Okay, so now I got my piece of paper here. And let me, oh God, today I woke up. I don't know what's happening with me lately. Every time I wake up to do a live stream, something's going on. Maybe, am I nervous? Is that what it is? Who the heck knows? So yeah, okay, shoulder ache times 10 today. I couldn't even like turn my head to the left. Like it's getting a little better now. A couple of Advils and a heating pad, and yeah. Okay, let me just get a little drink of water. Any questions before we get started? That's the Michelin Man. That's right. That's what I call it. But my younger students have no idea who the Michelin Man even is. They're too young. They've never seen a Michelin commercial. Okie dokie. Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. How big is this going to be? Oh my God, my neck. I feel like someone like a horse kicked me in the neck today. 8 inches is my live area. I could always zoom out. That's too tiny for a figure drawing. Paper is 14 inches. It should be 14 inches. Oh God. Okay, let me zoom out a touch, and then I'll zoom in. I get you. When I zoom out, it's too far away. It's too far away. Let me just keep it like this for now, and let me just start to draw. Okay, wonderful. That just fell on the floor. Today's like a comedy show. Okay, top of the paper. Bottom of the screen. Good, I've got leeway here if I want to go bigger. So I'm going to start with the torso, people. So, and yes, I have room. Just looking. I am going to start with a couple of angles. I'm starting with the breast. Okay, I'm starting differently now. There's no right and wrong way to start. I'm just trying to teach you multiple different techniques here. And I'm looking at the negative space from the breast to the oblique / abs / stomach. People call that the stomach area. And then I'm going to kick out the hip. Actually, let's see here. So yeah, this hip comes out past the breast to the left. I'm just looking. Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you, Sorbai. So that is spiraling out, not from the center, but spiraling out from an area that looks easy to draw. That's the technique, name, okay? So now I think I kind of kicked the breast out a little bit too much. So I'll bring this back in. Cool, awesome, love it. That's why I'm here, to teach and try to entertain at the same time. So now I'm just gonna come over here, and Matt, please zoom in, Matt, please. Okay. I'm gonna come over here now, and I'm staying in a confined area. This is a different way to draw. This is not gesture drawing. This is called I call it spiraling out from an area that looks easy to draw. That's the longer name for this technique. So yeah, I've got the breast. I'm somewhat comfortable with that placement. And now I'm going to look for the center line, and I'm somewhat comfortable. Now, I don't want to live here either. I want to move like somewhat fast. I'm looking at the navel and the distance from the navel to that side. Now, okay, cool. Now, bottom of the rib cage, which is your costal margin. Little shadow over here, and then a rib. How far away is that rib from the bottom of the breast? And now I'll get the rib cage. So I'll indicate where I feel I want to place that rib cage. How far away is that from the center of the breast? So what I really like about drawing this way is you're working in a confined space, and it's not like this overwhelming, oh my God, I need to draw the entire body. Instead, what we're doing is we're just really super duper focused on the torso. And this is what I was kind of teaching all week to the students, that the torso is totally, it doesn't have to be your home base for your figure drawing, but it is certainly mine. Okay, so I always like to have a home base that I'm very comfortable with, so to speak, that I can always go back to. And I'm like, yeah, I understand this part of my drawing. It's the torso. I know all of the muscles and the bones in the torso. And so I've memorized them, and I can draw them. I can draw them out of my imagination. And so I'm very comfortable with this. And it's just basically, the torso is in essence just two ovals. It's the rib cage on top of the pelvis, and both of those things are ovals. Now, I practiced saying and preached saying that you should get some shape in. So now what I'm doing also is I'm starting to put some shapes in to my torso before I even draw the legs, because what this will help me see, I see proportions better with some sorts of shape like this. Okay. Now watch, my proportions are all screwed up. That would be great. That would be great. You can all laugh at me. So, all right, now, all right, I got this, and there is this model's scapula that starts to kick out. At the scapula is this bone that floats on the back of your rib cage. So now where the scapula starts, I'm holding my pencil vertical. It's kind of plumb line right down to the hip. So I'm cool with that. I like that placement. So I've got that measurement right. So we have an angle. Is that on the screen? Let me lower this piece of paper. Time out. Let me just lower this sheet of paper, so I don't need to zoom in, zoom out, and do all that stuff right now. I don't want to go too much slower, so let me just, smaller, I meant to say, not slower. Make sure that this is somewhat level. Okay, so now this angles in, and I need to go up to the model's collarbone. That is kind of the top of the torso. I think that's okay. That's fair. So now we branch out. So what we're doing, people on YouTube, is we started here, breast, rib cage, hip, pelvis, and this is called spiraling out from the center, or spiraling out from what looks easy for you to draw first. And I'm telling you, this is from experience, the torso is easy to start first. Much easier than the head first, in my opinion. Okay, so now I'm going to draw the legs. So I'm going to say, okay, now I'm using a different technique. Here's my kind of semi-horizontal opposite C. Okay, to the kneecap. Now, I could leave it there, or I can zoom down, which then I'd have to zoom out. And I'm going to zoom down anyways. I'm going to zoom down to where the bottom of the foot is. So if I zoom out, you can see that line. It's my line of action on that leg, and I went all the way down to where the foot is. But for this particular study, I don't want to do that right now. So let's say, okay, let's do some interior measurements. So if I look at the model's navel, how far away is the navel from the bottom of the breast? That seems okay. Now, how far away is the navel to where the two legs come together, kind of near the privates? So I'd say I'm going to curve this around. Now, I'm pressing down very light. I'm going to draw this line. I think it's a little closer to the navel, and I'm going to go around. So now what I'll do is I'll look at the distance from the top of the thigh, the top of the upper leg to where the butt is, and the box that this model is seated on is pushing up on the model's hip. Soon as the hip comes off the box, boom, the leg, soft tissue, gravity pulls it down. Now, okay, here's the next thing I'm looking at. So if that's the hip, that's the knee, back of the knee. What is right up above from the back of the model's knee? Well, it's to the left of the breast. So about here. And if I come down with a light measure line, it's about there. I'm cool with that. Again, I'd rather have these legs longer every day of the week versus shorter. So now I'm also looking at the thickness of the knee area. Could be a little thicker. Okay, and I'm going to kick this out. So that is how I love to start my long drawings. Any questions? Are you still here with me, people? Are you still here? Can you hear me good? Okay, let me just pause here for a minute and get like a little drink. I need water. I need to like get some I got some electrolytes in my water from my shoulder, which feels like somebody punched me like 100 times in my shoulder. Fun stuff. I don't know. I went to bed perfectly normal, and then I woke up with this. Good times. Cool. All right, Sorby. Listen, now, if my head gets into the camera, you just kind of let me know. It's going to get into the camera occasionally, but sometimes I make the mistake. I lean too far up, and it gets into the camera too much. Now, alrighty, listen up. So let's zoom out, and let's talk about the lower legs, how to begin drawing these lower legs. So let me lift this up. Hang in there. Awesome. So now the lower legs, this is more gestural. I'm coming down, and this is called a target. So I put that little line there, right? I put this little line here, and that, after I put that target line down, can we get a white balance grayscale on this? I know. It's a little warm from my windows. I've got such warm sunlight coming in, and I don't know if I want to muck with my camera right now. Let me, 1 second. 1 second. That just helped me a little bit on my end. Did that help you? Yeah, it's definitely a little bit warmer. It's not terrible. This is a neutral grayscale, and this neutral grayscale right now is not warm. overly warm and it's not overly cool. Like this is my blue tape. So yeah, my blue tape on my video feels a little bit lighter, and it is a little bit warmer. So I just have overpowering sunlight coming in that is warm. There is warm light reflecting off of the trees, yellow green. So I think I'm just going to leave it because it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Maybe during the break, I'll play with one adjustment. So actually, if you don't mind, let me, because I hate warm videos. So let me do one thing here. One thing. Hang in there. So I'm going to just get rid of me here for a second so you don't see me when I get up on my stool and fix my camera over my head. 1 second. Okay, I just fixed the white balance on my camera. So thank you for that suggestion. Um, William, thank you. I hate yellow video, and I appreciate you reminding me about that. Sometimes I just get so caught up in like the drawing that the video stuff I don't think about as much. Let me switch my glasses because I have glasses just for drawing here. Okay. And are we cool? William, are we cool? I think that's a gazillion times better. Thank you. So getting back to this drawing, this, that's funny. I just changed my broken credit color pencil for a Staedtler one, and I feel a huge difference. Yeah, like pencils are, they're huge. They have a big determinant on how you enjoy the process. This leg is bent backwards, so it's going to be shorter. I might give myself like a little angle like that, but I want to go longer with my target, and I want to go longer with my target for that foot. And now if I hold my pencil like this on the photo, which I'm going to do right now, from the heel, what is right up above the model's heel? It's the edge of the breast. So edge of the breast, and now I got to make sure I didn't draw the breast too big, so I could kick it in a little bit more. It needs to be kicked in. I did draw it too big. So below the breast, heel. Doesn't need to be perfect right now, so we can always adjust. So now the calf muscle kicks out. The calf muscle goes vertical. Look at the negative space from the top of the heel to the bottom of the leg. And now let's get this heel and the foot angles out, and then it angles into the toes, and then the toes angle like that. And now this would be the ball of the foot perspective that angles like that. And then the toes, I'm making them longer. I am not going to have a short leg on this model, no matter what. I think aesthetically that's gross. Okay. So you see what I did here? I'm all over the place, but in a good way. In a good way. So I drew the torso. I built up a little confidence. I looked at this negative space from here to here. I used the navel as a measure line and compared widths. I got the tilt, the perspective tilt of the center of the breast. I looked at the center of the breast to the edge of the ribcage. So I built up some confidence. I did my measure line from the scapula down to the hip. Cool. And now I drew my line of action all the way down that leg. I did not I did not do the Michelin Man thing where I drew the model like this, where I'm outlining and I'm drawing the breast and then I'm outlining both legs. And I see this happen all day long in live drawing class, and the oval for the head. So that is an outline drawing. That is not what you want to do. You want to suggest things, and you got it, William. That was a great suggestion. You suggest things, and yeah, line of action, angles, targets, negative space, measure lines. All of these things go into you being able to get a drawing. Okay, so now if I want to, I don't need to erase anything, but I'm just doing it for me, for selfish reasons, for measurements. Okay, cool. So I'm going to leave the legs like that. Now, I think what I need to do here is I need to zoom out. And because I want to show you now how I would place the head and the arms, okay? Because the head and the arms, it's kind of complicated. So let's bring this all the way down as far as we can go. Good. Okay. And I still don't have enough room for everything, but I'm going to try. If we go off the screen a little bit, we go off the screen. So let me come back. Let me resharpen this pencil. Timeout. Rib cage, oblique. I could lower the bottom of the breast to get more of that effect of the tilt of the upper body. And it's also perspective of the camera. There's a slight tilt. Okay, so now I'm going to place this arm, and I'm looking at the negative space from the arm to the hips. And what I can also do now is measure what's right below the model's elbow. So below the elbow is right next to the little, the toe next to the big toe. So I'm going to say right about there. So I'm cool with that. I don't need to make it so perfect right now. I want to gesture out. So I'm doing the forearm. Breast is here. And edge of the hand, nose, eye socket, forehead, hair. Okay. And now let's do shoulder, deltoid specifically. Deltoid specifically. Lean back. Look at this from far away. And upper arm, lower arm. Let's look at the distance. Let's say this is the breast. This is the chest, pectoralis muscle that comes down, and the arm starting about here. I need to draw something on the inside, which is going to be that like little shadow shape to give me some placement. I think that's too high up. I'm going to lower it. So I don't know. I'm still figuring all this out. So this is going to come up. Don't go too slow, Matt. Then you'll really screw things up. Go a little faster and look at some negatives, and let's get the okay, this neck is tilted. I didn't draw it tilted enough. Under plane of the chin. So let me go bigger, and let's get the back of the model's hair. So something feels extremely off there. So that's okay. That is okay. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go back. So that was my first try, right? So tummy area feels too short. Okay. I could adjust that. Let's move and let's work on a different part of the drawing. So what I can do next is I can say, okay, cool. Center of the breast, elbow, break of the arm right there. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go back to my angles. Angles are like a safety net for me. So let's do this upper arm, tricep area, deltoid, good, and forearm, good, and hand. I'm just doing angles right now as placement. Hair is higher. Angle down, and I'm just going to do an angle for the front of our model's face. Okay, so I think something is still off over here, but you got to just kind of keep drawing until you figure it out. And so let me do this. Let me leave it. So this is a long drawing from a photo. This is very different than a gesture drawing. So sometimes you just need to leave a section and come back to it, okay? And maybe you'll see it better the second time around. So I'm going to leave that right now, and I'm going to come back to it. Now, let me just get a little swig of water here. How long have we been doing this? 50 minutes. Okay, not bad. So what I'm going to do next is try to work on an area to resolve it, make it feel a little bit more finished. So I'll start here at the breast once again. So the collarbone and the chest kicks out, slopes down, kicks out. I'm going to go a little flatter over there, and then I'm going to curve in with a couple of angles, and that would be the center of the breast right there. So then I could say, okay, awesome. Let's get this part of the rib cage. And there's not a lot of information that I'm seeing that's super detailed like this. It's kind of, everything feels smooth on this model. Like some models, like you see every muscle and bone. Here I'm seeing more smoothness. So I'm going to wrap in a little bit more in a stylized way, and got a little bit of the side plane of the breast. Let's get the center line of the abs right here. And that kind of goes right into the navel. And then there's like a little light on that side of the navel. And then there's like a center line that goes down to the privates. It could be a wee bit more tilted than that. And I'm going to maybe lower this leg a touch, which could screw everything else up. I could also raise the navel, but I think I'm kind of okay with where it's at right now. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. Okay, so we could raise the navel a touch. So I want to stick here with the torso, just resolve this area. Okay, and I want to get the bottom of the rib cage. And let's do a little bit of shading with the breast, because there's two light sources hitting this model, so the shadow is kind of in the center. So we pick it up over here, under plane. This breast is, it could be the bottom of it could be a little bit higher. Just do a circle for the center of the breast. The higher the breast is, the more it's going to like have a perspective vibe, like we're looking up at this model. Okay, and I'm just going to put like a little tone there. So we've got, this is a pretty visible rib. Make sure it's not straight. This is another visible rib. I'm curving it, and then there's a faint. So I think I liked where the breast was at first. Good. Okay. So now we've got like a little bit of tone over here, and this is where the obliques touch and merge with the abs, and some tone over here, and pelvis bone kind of kicking up. So let me resharpen this pencil. And let me fix my edge. So I'll come up to the scapula. I'm going to try to use some organic line this rolls in. And then we want kind of a complicated edge. So I'm just trying to study the edge a little bit and take away some of its primitiveness. And now what I'll do is I'll come over here and push out the oblique. Curve this. There's no straight lines. Curve and curve. Okay. Yes. So let's see. Now that's cool with me. I'm digging that. Am I saying it's perfect? No, it's not perfect. So chest is here, and we've got little modeling factors going around the cylinder of the chest, and then we've got this shadow shape over here at the underarm. And yes, I'm going to just put some shading on that upper arm, even though the upper arm isn't even like set yet. I think that will help me kind of see things. And over here, I think maybe this is a little bit too wide. So I might come in and then go up. Yeah, because I'm looking at this distance here to here, and that's too wide. So we can just erase that a little bit. Just take a little bit off of that. Okay. So now let's move. I did a little bit here with the torso. So now I'm just going to try to get this leg because I want to now start to work the whole drawing. So I'm going to raise this. And let's cruise on down. We can adjust. No straight lines. I might make the legs a little longer. I'm not sure yet. So from the inside of that knee is to the left of the breast. Inside of the knee is to the left of the breast. Okay, good. So we've got that. What about the heel once again? The heel is on the edge of the breast. Okay, so heel on the edge of the breast. That's okay. I don't love it, but yeah. Angles. Curve in. Curve down into that foot. Let's get the angle for the toes. And let's just live with that for a moment. Angles for that leg. Good. And I could go just a little bit lower with this. Let's work on this other leg now. So let's do curving. And we could now draw the negative space between the two legs. So it's pretty thick over there. Angle. Heel. Where is that heel? I'm trying to look at the negative space. S curve. Ball of the foot. So that leg feels really, really thick, so I need to thin it out a little bit. So I'll just come on in with the eraser. Come on in. And everything just feels very thick down over here, which I'm not necessarily a fan of on the drawing. So I'll taper this in. Cruise on And then, yeah, this toe needs to come lower. Ankle, heel, convex line, top of the foot kind of goes like that. So let me just erase out some of this mess. Yes, better. Much better. And I'm going to say, yeah, something like that. So let me just try to do like a little bit of continuous line. Cool. I might kick this in a touch. Okay. Let me move up top. But before I move up top, hey, Talk 14. I thank you, Barry. Any questions, just let me know. Now, listen, when you get to this part of the drawing, I think it's very, very valuable for you to put in some shading. Because to me, I say this to my students all the time, and I don't expect them to agree with me, but this is just my belief that shapes are what make the art world kind of go round. Shapes are where it's at. And do I love drawing with line alone? Sure. Half of the drawings in my drawing pad are line. But this is different than like line. This is drawn from a photo. And I wanted to come on here today and I just want to draw a little bit with tone and I wanted to do some modeling and have some fun. And that's a whole different beast than drawing just with outlines. So if you're going to go the tone route, the modeling route, I think putting in some tone is extremely valuable. And then you also show like where the leg is bending, and that's very, very helpful as well. So now maybe what I'll do is I'll come down this away and get the shadow on the kneecap and line that separates the light from the shadow. Their box is casting a shadow on the side of the foot. And I'm just going to put some tone over here, put some tone over here. And now that's going to be so helpful in allowing me to see proportions just by putting those two shapes down over there. So what I really need to do is I really need to lean back, look at the drawing from far away. And yeah, so am I saying that everything is like spot on? No, it's not. Things are off here and there. Let me just raise the drawing up a little bit. And I think what I would like to do also, because I've been at it for like an hour, I got to stand up and look at the drawing from far away. I think if you don't do that, I think that's very, very bad. Like, I think it's very important to get up off of your chair and look at things from far away with a different vantage point. And let me tape the top of the drawing here. 1 second. Okie dokie. So, I'm just looking at it from far away. 1 second. Let me do something here. Lower legs need to be longer. Yep. Lower legs need to be longer. Slightly. Something about the left leg, the right side of the photo. That needs to be longer. Now, sometimes the leg is the right size, but the foot is too short. So I'll give myself a target. And maybe what I'm going to do here is just use a continuous line, continuous line, continuous line. So I might lower the heel to about here, kick out that into the little toe, and I think I like that better. So I didn't resolve it 100%, but I did lower a lot of stuff, and this basically is where the toes would start, and that's the front plane of that foot, and it's all in shadow. So I'm going to leave it like that for now, and that just helped me tremendously with the vibe and the feeling of this pose. Now, just give me like a minute to. Those are shadows. Definitely, those are shadows. Now, there are situations where some studios, like SVA, when I used to photograph models for my website, I would photograph them after class. And I had a fine arts classroom. So the floor was complete charcoal dust. And so I would say, please, don't walk on the floor barefoot and then get onto the white backdrop. So it was a legit thing. Like at SVA and art schools, there's charcoal dust everywhere in like a fine art classroom. So yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. So technically, there could have been dirt on the kneecaps, but I'm gonna take an educated guess that this is not an art classroom. It's a photography studio. So that is just like a really dark shadow on the kneecaps because the lights are pretty bright. All right, I gotta stand up for a second. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I just want to give you like a little bit of context for a moment here. Um, so let's see what we got. Oh my God. So we've been working on this sketch for 1 hour. I would call this a sketch, a preliminary to a long drawing. So the context is that this would be hours. Let's see, is that on the screen? Okay, 1 second. 1 second. Where is my software? Okay, so this is something that I would work on for many, many hours. And so 1 hour, hours, same paper, same pencil, just lots of time modeling. And if I, where's my remote control? Here we go. If I zoom in just a touch, you'll see it, some of the modeling with my pencil. My camera's not the best camera on YouTube, so I don't know how much is going to pick up here. So many hours, an hour, okay? And let me put this so I don't screw it up, because, yeah. Now, here's another one, and I should do this one day on YouTube, draw on a painted board. So this is hours, right? And with white charcoal. And it's also started with the Color pencil. So very different, and lots of modeling, lots of organic stuff happening, and 1 hour. So, if you ever like compare yourself to others and you're like, oh yeah, I suck and this person's so good. Like, are you giving yourself like the benefit of the doubt that, maybe they spent 7 hours on their drawing and you only worked on yours for like 45 minutes? So you have to understand that this time thing is like legit. And hold on now. I'll share with you one or two more pieces here for context. This was a portrait that I did years ago, so hours, many hours. um, of just this is illustration board, not paper, but it kind of has the same tooth to it. So many hours and 1 hour. Okay. So this is legit for an hour while talking. If you're in a studio and you're hanging with friends, yeah. Okay. So you just got to cut yourself a little slack. Um, I have some old paintings from the 90s out in my studio. I just want to share this with you all. I'm giving myself a break from just drawing for a second to kind of reset my eyes. And so, like, this was some of the stuff that I used to do when I was an illustrator for books. And this was a painting for a book cover. And yeah, so this kind of gives you like an idea of what I used to do. I've got this was I don't know I don't even know, maybe 1999, maybe 2000. I have nothing written on the back. So yeah, I used to do like book covers all day, every day. That was how I earned my living, and I've got like hundreds of them all over the place. And that was just out in my studio, so I kind of wanted to share it with you a little bit. Okay. So now, I'm going to leave the legs alone, and I think I'm going to move on, okay? From the legs, I'm going to go up to the arms, and I think I need to zoom out. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Hips maybe could be slightly wider, but I'm cool with where they're at. So now let's just do some shading. Let's get this arm. Okay, is this on the camera? Yes. Okay. Sorbai, I used to do young adult and young reader book covers. So young reader ages is from 7 to 11, and young adult is from like 12 to 17. And so that's what I did for like almost 18 years. I illustrated books, and I don't know if you would call them a novel. It was, I would do some hardcovers, and I would do a lot of paperbacks. Paperback just is such an old-fashioned term. Does anyone even own a paperback anymore? Probably not. I have a couple on my bookshelves because I like to see the titles of those books because they remind me of certain things that I like. So I'm just doing like a little tone over here. I'm not worried about a perfect outline. The tone's going to help me see things. The tone is going to help me to look at the negative space. And what dimensions would you advise for a sketchbook for students? I would say no. Well, okay. I've changed my philosophy. We're talking about a sketchbook, not a drawing pad. Something that you bring with you when you're traveling. So I would say maybe the biggest would be 8.5 by 11. Smallest would be like a 5 by 9 moleskin. I think that's kind of very, very small. 8 by 10 is a really, really good size. And like there's just some sketchbooks that are too small. And yeah, so you got to just be careful that things don't go too small. And if they do, why is that even a problem? Well, it's a problem because then you start to get into an extremely bad habit of drawing with your fingers and drawing really, really super tiny. And I do find that could be a bad habit because then when you try to do a figure drawing style gesture drawing thing, you kind of are so stiff and you don't know how to draw with your arm and you only know how to draw with your fingers. And that's a thing. That's a legit thing. So now to get this head, I just drew the negative space. Yeah, okay, paperbacks, yes. Back in the day, that's what I used to do. So chin, nose, eye socket, hair shape. Hair shape. I'm going to just put a little bit of tone here. Tone here. And I might just leave that as is. Let me draw a shape of hair, shape of face. So hair. Yeah, I did my Zoom class yesterday on drawingtutorialsonline.com, and I showed the students in my Zoom community um, like probably 20 paintings that are really old, and some of them are so different from how I work now. It's pretty funny, but they're my little mini family on DTO, so they're not going to judge my old stuff, and I appreciate that because you grow and you change, and who you were when you were 30 is very different than when you're 40. Who you are when you're 18 is very different from when you're 28. So you're definitely going to grow a lot, hopefully, and then your tastes are going to change also. So when your tastes change, like I used to be into like hyper realism, and I could do the hyper realism thing right now. I understand it, but I don't want to do that. So, but when I was in my 20s, it was everything that I was into. I'm like, it's got to be realistic. I shouldn't see any paintbrush strokes on my painting. I want it to be super smooth, and I don't want it to be painterly. And now I like painterly. So again, we change as human beings as we get older and experience different things. So I think that's a legit thing. And I try to explain that to my younger students. I'm like, listen, what you're doing in this first year of college, even when you're in fourth year of college, you could look back and be like, oh my God, how was I doing that? Like, I can't even do that anymore. Like, I don't like that, what I was doing. And you change because your tastes change. You meet new people, you meet new friends, you see different artists. And yeah, so interesting stuff. Okay, so that's my rough-in right now of the hands and face. And rough is the key word. I don't want to get too caught up into all of that section, but that's a quick way to kind of like rough it in. Yes. Okay. So now what I'm going to do here is how'd you get into book covers? Okay. Hey, Dylan. Long time no see. I hope you enjoyed your sketchbook video. I thought it was really, really good. Dylan, I filmed a couple of people their sketchbooks, and they want listen, if you want to wear a mask, you can wear a mask. It doesn't bother me. It's not my thing, but if you feel comfortable in a mask, great. And I filmed some awesome sketchbooks, but I couldn't hear the student. And I need to ask these students if we can refilm them without the mask, because the mask was like really blocking their voice. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, let's go to Dylan. And so Dylan, you were the last sketchbook on my phone, and so I moved you up. So there's a couple of others that I've got on there, but one of them was so good, but I just couldn't hear the student. So I would have been reamed if I put that on YouTube with that sound quality. It was awful. Okay, welcome, Dylan. Hope you're having a good summer. So Baruch, how did I get into book covers? That one is easy. I was in art college, and I was in the illustration department, and there comes a time in fourth year portfolio class that you just have to decide what your portfolio is going to be in order to show to art directors to get work. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to do romance book covers because I have to hire models for each book that I illustrate. And to hire a romance book cover model was back in the late 90s was $150 an hour. So I was like a young kid in high school, and it's like, yeah, no, I'm not spending $300 on models for one painting. So I'm like, I think maybe I should do young adult book covers because I could hire my friends and I could use my friends for book covers. They would get a kick out of it, and I wouldn't have to spend $300 on models. So it was a practical thing. I always knew that I was going to be an illustrator. It just was like what genre of illustration. And so like another genre could be like fantasy books. But I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to paint like fight scenes and action scenes. Like I'm no good at that. That's not my thing. And so I chose young adult book covers because the book covers were mainly like portrait paintings of the main character within the book. And I'm like, this is right up my alley. I love that. And so that's how I got into it. Yeah. Michael, so glad you commented on duration of a fully rendered drawing. It took me a while to understand this. How long did your rendered oil painting book covers take? Um, it depends. So if there were like 3 people in the book with like a cityscape in the background, that would maybe take me like 10 to 12 days. If it was one character cropped, like leaning on a fence, that would take me 4 to 5 days. And sometimes, like that painting that I just showed you, like it was kind of like an American style girl thing. That one probably, I'm not going to lie. Um, Her face, I probably spent like 6 hours on. Violin, and I probably painted the hands and the violin at the same day. So that was probably another 6 to 7 hours with the bow. The shirt was probably like a couple of hours. The skirt was probably like 4 hours, maybe five. So this is like a 4 day painting. And yeah, so absolutely. I was slow, and but I would manage to do 3 to 4 book covers a month. No doubt about it. And that's a pretty good living right there if you can do that. Okay, where am I? What am I working on right now? Do I want to use the brush? Yeah, I like the brush. I'm going to use the brush because I need to soften some stuff. Um, so what am I doing? This just kind of pushes the pencil into the tooth of the paper, and so the tone just becomes softer. It becomes a little bit more solid, and then this erases out like beautifully. Uh, Absolutely. And so I like this better than no brush. Now, if you want, you can do this with a blending stump. But I just like a brush because it's quick and easy. And sometimes the blending stump, not shrump, is a little overpowering. Yeah, all oil painting. Yeah, I got to do that. Not this week because I've got like a lot of coaching videos, that coaching calls that I have to do this week. But yeah, absolutely. Maybe towards the end of this video, I'll choose 1 or 2 other oil paintings to share with everybody. Okay, so I don't even know what I like. My neck is killing me. That's what's going on here, people. I don't know what my problem is. I just woke up and I had a crook in my neck and it's killing me. So do I pop 2 more Advil on video? No, I'm going to go off to the side and take a couple of Advil. 1 second, 1 second. I hate Advil. They're no good for you, but I'm going to take them. Okay, let me give you one more thing with context. Okay. Um, okay. So, hours. Lots and lots and lots of hours on this. This is with toned tan Strathmore paper, white charcoal pencil. Hey, Constantinius, welcome, welcome. Yeah, no, it's just a shoulder ache. No, I don't want to go to the doctor for that. It just happens when you're old like me. So, okay, Cola pencil, white charcoal pencil, tone tan paper, and I would have liked for it to be like a little bit more focus on YouTube. It feels like a little out of focus. So this one took me a very, very long time. Now, what you see on this type of drawing here, people, is that you see translucency in the shadows. because I'm allowing some of the paper to show through. So this is just very much akin to like oil painting, where when you oil paint, and digital painting too, Dylan. So you should always have areas that are translucent and then areas that are opaque. Translucent, opaque, opaque, translucent. If everything is opaque, it looks like the body is kind of made out of plastic. Yeah, absolutely. So this one was, I took a bunch of drawings. They're all hanging on the wall. I don't even know what I've done. I've done thousands of these types of drawings. Okay, let's draw. Let's draw. That's enough of show and tell. So let's get back to this. So I'll start again from the top, and maybe I'll just come over here. And let's just work on this breast a little bit. And I'm looking at the distance from here to here. I think I had the bottom of the breast right the first time I drew it, so I'll go back to that. And so like now, you see what I'm doing here? Like this just feels like, oh my God, this is what he's doing. He's just doing like a couple strokes. Is he even doing anything? This is where I get, and this is very important for you watching me here on YouTube. You need to figure out why you do your art. Like, why do you do it? Like, what's the joy that you're getting specifically? And if you can kind of figure that out, it's going to help you tremendously. So with this type of stuff here in my studio, this is extremely different than teaching students at SVA and working with a live model. Like this is just rendering. Like this is just like a form of relaxation. It's a form of meditation. And I just have always done this sort of work where I work for hours on like one piece. And I like both the process of doing this and I like the outcome. Like I like to see the finished drawing. I like my gesture drawings too. They're really, really cool. And I'm like, oh shit, damn, I did that. It was only like 2 minutes. That looks really good. But I like this more. And I would say that I rarely do this sort of drawing anymore. But I enjoy this kind of like the most. And this is kind of like what I've always done. But now, how about you? Like, what makes you, Truffles is sleeping in my wife's home office. Yes, absolutely. So what makes you, gives you that warm fuzzy about your artwork? You got to figure that out. And until you do, like you tend to feel like a little like with that imposter syndrome. Like, yeah, like you might be doing a digital painting, but you're like, yeah, I'm really not a digital artist. Like I like traditional stuff. Or you could be working on like short 2-minute gesture drawings and you're like, really, this is, I get it, but like there's more to life than like a 2-minute gesture drawing. And so I like to do the short stuff and I like to do the long stuff. This leg is thicker. My God. Okay. Let's just lower it here. But that's important for you. Context is everything. And you need to understand why and what you like in terms of, the duration that you're spending on your artwork. Now, while I'm doing this drawing, does anybody have any questions about anything that I'm doing here today? And while I'm waiting for like maybe 1 or 2 questions, let me give my website and my services a little bit of a plug, a commercial here. So do you struggle with this sort of thing? Have you been, oh God, that line was terrible. Have you been watching YouTube videos for like the last 10 years and you still feel stuck? Well, I think maybe you could consider maybe getting a coaching session, maybe not with me, maybe with somebody else that you like that offers coaching. And like I just did a coaching video this morning for this woman and Terry. And I saw immediately what is going on with Terry. And it's not Terry's skill. It's that Terry is working from the absolute most atrocious photo reference ever. And when you look at this photo reference, I would call it good photo reference. I wouldn't call it great because there's 2 light sources. So sometimes you just need like a coach or a teacher that's going to look at your artwork and give you feedback and make the feedback not overwhelming. So if anybody is interested in that, click on the link to my website and go to my shop. And right now I am offering 3 versions of coaching. I am offering like a one-time coaching for a certain amount, and then I offer like a 4-session coaching if you want homework, and then we meet every 2 weeks. That's a little bit more pricier than the one-time coaching, but in the grand scheme of, oh, I'm going to college and it's costing me like 75 grand, like the amount of money that I charge is like a joke for the coaching. So it's kind of very inexpensive, and you're getting the same feedback from me that I am giving to college students. So if you're interested and you want to support the channel, check out my coaching. And if you want more of this and feedback, but you don't want to do the one-on-one coaching thing, you could also, let me zoom out because I'm working the whole drawing now at once. You could also check out a membership to drawingtutorialsonline.com. You could be a member for a month. I've had members. I just had somebody cancel this morning. They were a member for like maybe 5 years and they canceled. That's a very long time. If you think the average lifespan of student-teacher relationship in colleges is like 1 semester, 3 months maybe, maybe the student will take that teacher a second time. So 6 months in total, and somebody was with me for 5 years. I'm not going to be upset if they cancel from my website because they need to move on and maybe experience like a different teacher, and that's like a legit thing. So yeah, let me just look at some of these comments. What type of paper is good to sketch on that bends well and is affordable? Where is my drawing pad? One second. So listen, I'm not using fancy paper. The fanciest paper I'll use is a 4-ply Strathmore illustration board. It's a little pricey. So when I'm doing a drawing like this, I'm using this Strathmore drawing 400 series 80-pound paper. It's affordable. You can buy it at most art supply stores. And it's a pretty cool paper. Like, is it like Fabriano paper? No, it's not. But it takes some abuse with the pencil eraser situation. It really does. Excellent. Awesome. Prahald. I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly. Yep. Yeah, that's good paper. Thank you so much, Prahald. I apologize for mispronouncing your name. So, yeah, I'm going a little bit slower right now. I just feel like doing something that's a little bit more refined. And, yeah, that breast needs to be lower. Both of them might need to be lower, but it's all good. I'm not going to change it now. I'm not worried about the perfectionist thing right now. I just want to do a somewhat quick drawing here on YouTube for everybody and just teach some techniques. So far, some of the techniques that we talked about in this lesson, if you joined us a little late, I watched, you can watch the beginning. I talked about the opposite C's. We talked about the Michelin Man, and we talked about 3 shapes make up the form. We talked about getting some tone in quickly, so you're not just drawing with outlines, but you're actually drawing with some tone. We did talk about like a lot of stuff, and yeah. Okay, so let me maybe. Cool. Is this on camera? Yeah. Let me zoom out. Let's work on those lower legs a little. And so this is cast shadow. And I want there to be a little bit of a darker line on this leg. Here's a convex line that rolls into the tibia. Tibia is the main bone on your lower leg that your femur sits on. So this is your tibia right here. And cool. And I'm using a downward pencil stroke for the modeling. And so now, yeah, this is pretty dark because this her left leg is casting a shadow on the right leg a little bit. The legs are just close, so it's like blocking light. And so now this is going to kind of curve in. And I don't want to go too dark with this because I don't want to, and she's got pretty thick lower legs. I don't want to go too thin with them. And I'm going to draw the bracelet or the tattoo going around the ankle area, right up above the ankle area, because that's going to really show roundness. Now, that also stops my visual momentum from cascading down the leg into the foot, which kind of slows things down a little bit visually, but I'm going to leave it. And heel, ankle. This is not as contrasty as what I'm doing. Now, I would like to be a little bit closer to my drawing. I would like to be a little bit closer to the photo reference. I can't do that because I don't want you to see my already too bald of a head. So if I get closer, then you're going to see my bald head, but I would like to be closer. So maybe what I'll do is I'll work on this drawing a little bit later today. I have another coaching critique video to do for Scott. And that's important that I get that done and email that to him. Yeah, so absolutely. Now, the other thing with the coaching, what do you get from the coaching? Well, basically, you sign up. Let's just say you sign up for a one-time coaching where you want me to look at your artwork and critique it. Well, I'll give you like a 45 to 1 hour video. I'll send you a download link, and I will send you a watch link, and then I also make a Google Drive folder for you, and I screen grab all of the lines that I have drawn on top of your drawings, explaining things that you need to do. So I also send you a link to your Google Drive folder with your artwork in it and my draw overs. And so you get the folder, you get my video critique, and then we follow up with either a traditional phone call or a Zoom call. So that is a lot of my time for the price that you're getting for a one-time coaching. And if you sign up for a 4-session coaching, you get 4 of those. Now, there's a lead time. Like somebody just recently signed up for the coaching, and I was teaching a 1-week class in Manhattan, so I couldn't get to the coaching video for almost like a week and a half. So that happens. That happens. So it's not like you send me your artwork and then I do the coaching video like the next day. There's definitely some like lead time to it. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Where are we with this drawing? This is a little bit too outlined for me. So getting rid of some of these outlines just kind of like relaxes the drawing. And what also kind of relaxes the drawing is background tone. So I could just lose this leg because right now this is not like a cop-out thing that I'm doing because I'm drawing the legs shitty. It's just a technique where you're losing an edge into like an environment. And it's also nice, and I didn't do this on like the last drawing that I did, to suggest kind of like what the model is seated on. That also is a nice touch to do. And yeah, so you can do like a little bit of a cast shadow, and we can blend that into the leg. And so that's another thing that you can do that would like relax the drawing. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot. Yeah, a Da Vinci or a Michelangelo, I like that. Yeah, so the envelope is good. I used to do that. I used to do that. I grew out of the envelope and I switched from the envelope to the torso and the torso to a line of action, or the opposite C's with the torso. The envelope has become too restrictive for me because I've done, and why is that? Like, why did I used to do the envelope and why do I not do it now? It's just because I've done literally thousands upon thousands upon thousands of gesture drawings. And when you do that, your physical hand, the way that you move it on the paper, it completely changes. Especially like when they're 1 and 2 minute poses. Like you never use straight lines anymore. Like what you use is organic curved lines, and organic curved lines are null and void in the envelope. And so that's the reason why I don't use the envelope, because I primarily draw with curvy organic lines. But I think the envelope is great, and I think it's very good for some people when they're learning how to draw, to build up like that confidence. But ultimately, everybody needs to switch. I need to get closer to this drawing. I'll work on this for like maybe another 20 minutes, and then we'll call it a live stream. Ultimately, what I learned, is I learned that straight lines on the figure are ultimately so stiff, and that the envelope accentuates like that stiffness. Again, I love it, and I've got some of my most favorite drawings I did like when I was in my 20s, with the angles. And I didn't call it the envelope. That's more of like an Anthony Ryder. He's a great teacher. Anthony Ryder calls it the envelope. I like to call it, I like to come up with like my own names for stuff, and most art teachers do this. So for me, it's called the containment system. Like it's a contain, like you contain the model in these straight lines. And yeah, I like that. That's like my like little verbiage for it. Okay, let's see here. Getting there slowly, very slow, very slow. Okay, let me just model the torso a little bit more. I'll zoom in just a touch more. Okay. And I got to get a little drink of water here. Yeah, I'll work on this for like 20 more minutes, and then maybe I'll share with you some older paintings that I did in the 90s, just for fun. Um, Absolutely. So I want to go over this now, and I'm deliberately pressing down hard on my pencil because I want a thicker, more stylized line. Now, a couple people ask me, like in the comments section on YouTube, like, how do you get rid of that line? And it's easy to get rid of this line. You just drag your eraser over it, and or put in a background tone. I don't I kind of like this dark line because I love the artwork of Alphonse Maria Mucha, and there are some drawings that Mucha does that have the thick dark outline, and they really influenced me, because I used to draw like so light, and my drawings were so timid. Now, also, it's a practical thing. Like, there's no way I'm gonna do like a full blown like tonal drawing with a background. Like, it's just not gonna happen today with this particular thing. And yeah, so I like the outline. It's very stylized. Now, you need to decide if like when you do that outline everywhere, what can happen is your drawing can get very, very stiff. So you can see, like, I'm not outlining over here. Um, like, yeah, I could, if I want, just go like a little lighter on the top plane of the rib cage, and that's legit. Like, I can go lighter over there, and that's legit. So yeah, there's a 14 million different ways to do this, but ultimately, like, it's nice when you have a role model artist, and you really like their style and you kind of put your own twist on it, I think that's kind of really cool. I can't pronounce your name. I apologize. Dagui. Dagu. Um, I like looking at retro stuff. Oh God, maybe I should show you one of my old Horror High book covers. Hello, I need to paint by colored pencil or watercolor paint, and I prefer non-chemical substance. I don't teach watercolors, and I only use colored pencils in a singular way, monochromatic. So, for instance, let me grab another drawing. Hold on. So this is illustration board. You can see it's thick. It's 4-ply. I painted it with acrylic. I love doing that. This is just covered, and so this would be using like maybe 3 colors of colored pencil. This is as good as it's going to get with me with colored pencil. I'll zoom in a little. So pretty much. I'm using some black, some brown, and a little bit of like a yellow ochre pencil, and then I'm using a white charcoal pencil, and that's translucent because that's the color of the board, and the board is painted with acrylic. So this is how I like to use colored pencil, in more of a monochromatic sort of way, and not like all the colored pencils. So I oil painted most of my life, and it's what I was trained in the most. And so I oil painted Amos, learning for expertise. I painted in a non-toxic way because I was like a little bit of a hypochondriac. How do you paint in a non-toxic way? Well, I replaced like cadmium red with Winsor red. I replaced cadmium yellow with Winsor yellow. I did not use turpentine, barely ever, maybe just for my underpainting. And I would use something like a refined linseed oil for my oil paintings, which was completely non-toxic. And then if you really want to go the extra mile, like I would clean my paint brushes with baby oil and ivory soap. And baby oil kind of acts like turpentine. And so there's ways with oil paint you can do. That's why oil paint is the best, in my opinion, because you can pretty much make the paint dry in a couple of hours, or you can make the paint dry in a couple of weeks. It's just the more mediums you use, the more it becomes potentially toxic. So I didn't really use a drying medium. I just used refined linseed oil, and I didn't really paint with thick paint. So the paintings that I did kind of dried pretty fast. Yeah, so there's a way. But no, I don't do watercolor. It's not my favorite. And there's many better watercolor teachers on YouTube, much better than me. I don't really teach that. I might have like one watercolor thing on my website. I think I took it down, that lesson, because I absolutely hated it. But I could critique your paintings and talk about composition, values, texture. There's so many other things. So, question: do you think drawing is essential to painting? I think, yeah. Like, if you can't do certain things with the pencil, like what? Let me get a scrap piece of paper here. What are those certain things? Oh God, 1 second. I don't want to ruin this drawing. It just fell on the floor. 1 second. Like, if you can't look at the bottom of the breast and match the value and model that breast with a pencil, it's going to be so much more difficult for you to do that with a paintbrush. So I think, it's good that you learn how to draw first, but you don't want to do it to the point where it just takes you forever to transition over to paint. I think people just get like petrified of transitioning from pencil to paint, and then they never do. So I think, I would learn how to match values, how to model form with a pencil first and build up your confidence. And then I would just switch over and I would continue to do both. I would draw with the pencil and I would begin to paint. And if you wait too long, that's no good either. I think that you just kind of got to go for it and you got to just say, like, I'm just painting for fun and whatever happens, happens. And I'm going to paint for the waste paper basket and I'm not going to paint to do like a masterpiece or anything like that. And if you have that attitude, everything is just so much easier. Yeah, everybody's different. So I'll say this to you, and I'm not just saying this to like be controversial, but it's true. Like I learned how to paint first before I knew how to really draw. What does that mean? So I used to paint constantly when I was working on my portfolio during fourth year of college. And then after college, I would paint 8 to 10 hours a day. But my drawings and my drawing know-how of like anatomy and how to do gesture drawing, I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. So I really, I guess I learned how to paint first, and I learned how to paint texture. I learned how to make things look pretty and believable and three-dimensional. And I was able to paint like shiny things. Like I was able to paint the texture of hair. I was able to paint the texture of chrome, and that's a different skill set. And but I could do all that, but then I didn't know how to do a gesture drawing, and I didn't know how to draw people out of my imagination. So I kind of did it backwards. Like I definitely learned how to paint before I learned how to draw. And that's a thing. That is definitely a thing. And then when I started to get better at drawing, I kind of drew like a painter. It wasn't until I was in my mid to late 30s that I switched over, and I'm drawing with tone. Oh, and I'm drawing off of the camera. Great. Okay. Let me zoom out. Okay. And so I'm kind of almost drawing like a painter right now, right? So what am I doing here? I'm kind of like blocking in tone. And yeah, so I'm kind of drawing like a painter. And so I think you just don't want to be afraid of paint. You just got to kind of go for it. And it's the most important thing with painting is this, the value scale. You need to be able to look at, say, this section and say, oh, what is that value? Is it 10, 9, 8, 7? Is it 7 or is it this value? I think it should be a 7. And then what about this arm on the photo? Like what value is it? Is it a number 5 or is it a number 6? I think I would do it a number 6, but it's a 5. So like that is what you really, really need to do. When it comes to learning how to paint. Like painting is just painting values. That's it. And controlling shapes. If you can control shapes and paint values, that's painting. Totally. Now, is that the only thing to painting? No. There's your modeling, there's your drawing, there's understanding form, there's understanding value studies with background tone and all that jazz. So there's a lot to it, but one thing at a time. So I'm just kind of being silly right now. I think I'm almost done with this drawing on video here. I think it was a fun little exercise, and I'm going to probably draw on it some more. Now, could I do like a little bit of a background tone over here? Absolutely. I can start to do this, and this would create like a little bit of some environment and some atmosphere and a little bit of like reverse gradation. I kind of like that. Totally. Your okay. So sorry, I'm asked learning for expertise. I didn't see that question. Your option of painting, does it available in membership option? Oh, okay. So on my website, I have, I used to have two websites. One was drawingtutorialsonline.com and one was painting tutorials online. And it was too much administration for me to handle. And I didn't, yeah. So long story short, I combined the two. So I have a section on my website that is a painting. It's painting tutorials online. I've got to begin here step by step, and I show you how to mix paint and how to do value studies and how to paint, how to choose what colors, how to set up your palette. That is on that website, drawingtutorialsonline.com. Absolutely, it is. I think all of this can also just be taught with pencil, but I get it. You know, people are into painting, and I like again, painting is my thing too. I did painting my whole entire life, and it's just a lifestyle choice because right now I do more teaching than anything else. And so I just like the immediacy of grabbing a pencil and making things happen with a pencil. Because when I used to paint, it was the entire day, right? Or it was a block. It was like a 6-hour block. And I would do that. I'd paint for 6 hours, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I can't stop now. I need to take like a half an hour and freaking clean my palette and clean my brushes. So that's a lifestyle, and I don't want to do that much anymore. Now, maybe when I get older and I'm not teaching the course load that I have at the School of Visual Arts in the fall and the spring, I'll get back to it because I've done some on my website Zoom classes. Summer 2024, I did painting. I've got some painting tutorials on that semester. We painted a couple portraits. We painted a scene with a model, a nude on a sofa. So I have some of that new stuff in there as well. Yep. Thank you, Phoenix. Thank you, MS Learning, for expertise. Um, here's another one from MS. My eyes are starting to go. So okay, 2 hours on the live stream. I'm getting old. Such an old fart. Let me read some of these comments because there's a lot of them, and I'm not trying to ignore you. So I just got into the drawing there for a moment. So just let me read some of these. You're okay. I believe charcoal comes closer to paint. Agreed. A charcoal, if you use it properly, it's just like painting. I couldn't agree more. So you're kind of like pulling out the lights with your eraser. That's one way to do it. For me, with the way that I'm using a brush here with this, this just becomes, for me, just like charcoal and just like painting. So I would put the paint down and then I would blend it, like how I'm showing you right now with this brush with my pencil. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just making this drawing feel extremely soft and atmospheric. Now, okay, I know there's going to be some people on YouTube that say that outline is not soft and atmospheric. Yes, I agree with you. It's not. But if I work on the drawing more and more and more and more, and just model it more, will become atmospheric, even with that very, very stylized dark outline. Totally. So this is how I would be working with charcoal. But I agree with you about the charcoal thing. It's extremely painterly. Let me just look at other questions here. Okay, so here's another one. Backwards, what do you mean go in reverse? Constantinius, I'm not quite sure. Reverse gradation, is that what you mean? So a reverse gradation is this. This is the light side of the model, and you go the reverse over here. Like, it's a gradation behind the model. So the model is dark here, light here, left to right, dark to light. The background is the reverse. It's dark to light the opposite way. So it's like the reverse. Okay, does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Here's a question from Amos Learning for expertise. Do I have to have reference photo always when I am drawing? No, absolutely not. But I will say this. There are the three disciplines. And if you don't do the three disciplines, you will not improve as fast. One of the three disciplines is you draw from photos. Because why? Because it's practical. And you could take your own photo and control the artistic license even further and the composition. You should also draw out of your imagination. Why? Because I just think it's a great skill to have. You should also be able to draw from life. But Matt, I don't have time. There are no art schools around where I live, and it's against what I believe to go draw nude people. Okay, draw people at a cafe. Draw your cat sleeping on the sofa. Draw a landscape outside. That is, draw a still life that you set up in your studio. Those are all just drawn from life. It doesn't need to be the nude. Does that make sense? Um, Okay, so Omar 911. It's me, Omar, the one who told you I'm semi paralyzed. Now I feel better. I can move and return back to drawing. All the doctors said it was impossible to return back. Well, I'm glad that you're feeling better. That is awesome. That is very awesome. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was, when I was in my 20s, I was on a mission to learn how to paint, and I thought just drawing was just to do sketches for the painting, but I hated that. But yeah, as I got older, it was more of like a lifestyle choice for me, because I started the website drawingtutorialsonline.com. I had to edit my video, do my admin, I had to promote and market and draw, and so painting was just this thing that took forever. And like, people don't believe me when I say this, but, and I repeat this a lot, but it's the truth. I painted book covers for 18 years. And some of those days, to meet the deadlines, I literally was sitting in a chair for like 8 to 10, sometimes 12 hours, to finish the painting for the deadline. And when I think of that, I cringe now in my older age. Like, I would never want to do that again. Like, I paid my dues and my body was destroyed because of it, sitting in a chair, sitting as the new smoking. And so, yeah, I don't ever want to go back to doing that again, where I'm sitting in a chair for 10 hours. Like, I remember walking to SVA, and to teach a class, and like, I couldn't even move my forearm because my forearm muscles were so cramped up from painting all day. And that's like totally a true story. So that's why I like working with the pencil. Like, this is a tiny, like, little drawing right now. This is, how big is this drawing? This is 9 inches tall. That's tiny. And so, again, you need to do what works best for your lifestyle. So for some of you, Procreate works best. For some of you, just using like a couple of colored pencils work best. Some of you might be retired and you don't work anymore, and you want to get into like 40-hour oil paintings. I think that's like really cool. Everything is different. Um, I'm not exaggerating. I have hundreds and hundreds of small Col-Erase pencils, and I do not enjoy drawing with a short pencil. So what I do, and I do this in the classroom too, because these pencils are $3 a pop. So when they get small, I can't draw with it. It's a balance thing. So what I do is I kind of like shave the end and I stick them in these pencil extenders. You cannot get these pencil extenders in the United States right now, not that I know of. I got these as a gift from a student at SVA, and they are from Korea. So yeah, Dan, thank you, Dan. I thank you every day for the pencil extenders. Um, okay, so this is just my opinion. I'm just one teacher on the huge internet. And so what I feel you should be able to do, let me get a scrap piece of paper. I'm running out of scrap paper. 1 second. So let me keep it like that. So here's my Col-Erase pencil. It's not B, it's not 2B, it's just one weight. And you should, let me use an old pencil for this because this has a nice point. You should be able to press down really hard and get a rich black. You should be able to use your touch, not the B or the HB, to be able to draw a middle tone, in my opinion. And you should be able to use your lover's touch, and I joke with the students all the time, use your SVA lover's touch and just have your soft touch, right? And be able to get a light value. The pencil, can you do this? Do I have these pencils here? I do. Yes, I do, because I was looking for some to bring to SVA when I taught the pre-college class. So some people will say that, no, to use the light, I got to use the HB. Oh my God, no, that is like torture for me. And to use the middle tone, to get the middle tone, I should say, I need to use a 2B. And to get the really, really rich dark, I need to use a 5B. But I don't do that. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just, I think it's all in your touch of your hand, not the pencil. But people do use multiple pencils, and they're phenomenally great. So I'm just giving you my opinion. That's all. You don't have to agree with it. So far, we have black, we have mid-tone, we have light mid-tone. Maybe we can call this a dark mid-tone, and we have a light. So we've got the 5 basic values on this particular drawing. And I don't mind. Well, this Kohl Erase is a certain type of beast. It's not the only pencil that I use, but I like smudging it a little bit like this, because now what I'm doing is I'm turning it into like a little bit of a painting, and I'm tapping. Okay. And then what I could do is then I can come on in. Where are my tools? They're all over. I got drawings all over the place. I can't find anything. Okay. And I could draw with my eraser. So I can put some like little highlights on the ribs. Like I need more pencil on the board for this to kind of happen. But that's the idea. Okay. How about we do this? How about I call this drawing done for the live stream? Let me just share with you. Maybe I'll share with you a couple more drawings and maybe 1 or 2 very, very old paintings. I think that'd be kind of fun. Let me leave this here in case any of you are working along with me. And yeah, 1 second. Okay, people on YouTube, I can't believe I'm going to show you this work right now. I really don't want to do this. But I love you all for watching and sticking with me here on YouTube. And so I'm going to show you some really old paintings. Now, I need to switch this setup. And where is this thing? Where are we? Okay. Me paper. Oh, okay. Cool. I like that. Let me move this mic over, and let me move the drawing now. I also just need to have a little area where I can put these paintings down, so I'm not holding everything with 2 hands, and I feel like I'm going to spaz out. 1 second. Okay, so this thing's done for today. Maybe I'll work on it a little bit more. So again, context is just like an hour and 45-minute drawing, and this is where we're at. It needs a lot of work. It's a little stiff. The legs need to be modeled. Like there's a lot. I didn't even do anything with the portrait. There's a lot that needs to be tweaked with it, but it's just a learning tool here today. Okay, so good and yes. All right, so I'm showing you, it's 2025, people, right? I am going to show you a drawing. I like that I got a thumbs down. That's pretty cool. I'm going to show you a painting that I did maybe in 1992. Yes. I'll put it over here. So this was for a medical magazine out of college. I graduated in 1990. And so these were the types of paintings that I did like in 1992, 93, 91. I worked for a medical publishing company, and they needed these types of scenes like in their medical magazine. So yeah, that I hired that mother and daughter model, and they came over. And along this painting it's kind of sad because this was so long ago, and the mom died. Unfortunately, it was so sad. And then years and years later, I had hired the daughter. She was a teenager, and she was on a couple of book covers. So yeah, I'll never forget that. That was crazy. Okay, so this was a painting that I did for a publisher in Colorado, and he was obsessed with ovals, and he wanted me to paint like this kind of church thing. And it's an oil painting, and yeah, okay, so that might have been around 1997, totally. And yeah, it was fun. I loved painting that like little scene. I like the clouds, and this was a long ass time ago. Okay. um, this, I also used to do these historical books. This was like a Civil War type of painting. I wish I wrote the date. That's my old phone number. I don't have that phone number anymore. And so, yeah, I used to do this type of stuff. And, just to kind of give you a little context, that head is like 1.125 tall. That head is the face is 1 inch. And so if I look at the eye, it is literally not a quarter, a 1/16 of an inch. So I think I used to be like a little bit of a lunatic. Not my favorite one, but I'm just showing you a bunch of old ones. So a classic kind of like young adult book cover. Again, these heads, that face is 3/4 of an inch wide, and the eye is like a 1/16. I couldn't do that anymore. Like I don't even know how I painted that girl's teeth. Like seriously, like I don't even know how I did that. And it's kind of crazy. And yeah, you can see some of these notes on the back. That was my old office and my old phone number. I used to mail all of these paintings wet in a cover. When I look at them now, I absolutely hate them. Yeah, absolutely. That was such a sad story. This one was a classic young adult book cover. I've forgotten Winter. This might have been the name. Yeah, so that one's interesting. Not the most realistic, a little bit more stylized. But I worked with this model a lot. She was a good model. Here's another one for another book cover. I think those are some mountains in Switzerland. I don't know how I like that orange skirt. Oh my God. And so if we look at it this way, that is another very, very tiny face. This, I wish I wrote the dates. I mean, I did sign my name over there. You can barely see it. I don't know what my problem was with signing my name. I don't think the art directors liked when you sign your name too big. But I do like the orange versus blue. Here's another one, not the most successful book cover I've ever done. There's all this empty space over here. That's where the title of the book would go. And I like the way that I painted that one. I like the wall. I like the foliage. There's some cool stuff there. Now, this next one's pretty funny. Pretty funny. Horror High, mid-90s, maybe 1995, 1996. And yeah. So I love the hair. Hair looks good, but it's very 90s. So the name of this series was Horror High. And this is the type of stuff that I used to do. So the drawing just comes so easy. And the last one I can share, this book cover was probably done in 1994, and that's how it looks. And there's a lot of room up top for the text. The title of the book, that was my old agent there, Hankins and Tegenborg. And Bantam Doubleday Dell was the client. Vicky was the art director. On My Honor was the name of the book. Yes. I just wish I wrote the date. I never wrote the date down. And so that's kind of what that looks like. Let me just look at some of these questions here on YouTube. Talk 14, how do you preserve all these drawings so they don't smear? I usually just tape. Let me go to a different screen here. Let me do this. Yeah, I usually just tape a piece of paper on top of the drawings. And so I put it inside of a drawing pad. Like I put a bunch of them together in a pad, and I just let them stay there. Like, so they're never going to smudge because they're like inside of like a folder or a pad. And I've got these flat files that, yeah, I have a lot of artwork in there as well. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Do you recommend oil painting for a professional level? Amos learning for expertise. It's really, I don't know what your end game is. Are you doing visual development for animation companies? Then I would say work digitally. Are you doing fine art? Well, if you're doing fine art, I would use oils. If you're doing traditional portrait painting, maybe I would use oils. So the context of what the end game is really how to answer that question. Yeah, old work. It's this like 25 and then another. Some of this stuff that I just showed you is like 25, 30 years old. It's crazy. I'm getting too old for this right now, but I just love drawing the figure the most now. I used to illustrate the inside of books. I'm not going to show you those. I have some of those out as well. I showed those yesterday, and maybe you can have an idea of the date of the painting, looking at the date of the release of the novel. That's a good one. I like that. Yep. Any suggestions on where to store old art? So it doesn't matter where you physically store it. What matters is the humidity levels and sunlight. So like you don't want the humidity levels to go too high, and you never want to have your artwork in direct sunlight, like especially if it's paper and pencil drawings. Like if you go into the Degas room at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the room is so dark, and it's because they don't want the pastel drawings that Degas did on paper to be exposed to light, because the light really disintegrates a lot of things, and so it's really light and humidity levels that are the culprits, not closet or like I have my paintings in a closet, and I have some in a flat file, and I just threw out a bunch of artwork that I did in college and in the 90s because I just have so much of it now, and it was so old. I'm like, why am I even saving this? And it was perfectly fine, and it was 35, 40 years old. And so it's really about sunlight, I think, the most, because I have a drawing behind me. It's up high above my window, and sunlight hit it, and the paper started getting really yellow, and it felt very brittle. And sunlight yellows things, and sunlight fades things. So when you store something, and it's your favorite drawing, just make sure sun isn't coming in the window every morning and hitting your favorite drawing, because it's going to fade it if you have it up on the wall for years. Okay, great question. So this is from John Doe. So John Doe asked, do any of your students ever do a lot of sketching and life drawing and class exercises but have trouble making finished artwork? Yes, absolutely, 1000%. It's just because creating finished artwork is a different skill than sketching people in the park or doing gestures of the model on the modeling stand. There's like on my website, DTO, I have a course, and the name of the course is called Process. So to create finished artwork, you must have a process. And most young people and people who are just getting into art don't even know they should have a process to creating a piece of art. Like it's very, very strange to me that someone thinks that they would just sit down at an easel and start painting and all of a sudden they have like a masterpiece. Does that happen? Sure. But is it rare? Yes. So like for me, there was an entire process to all of these paintings. I didn't just sit down and start to do those paintings. Like there was sketches, photo shoots, more sketches, color studies, a lot of stuff. Okay, so listen, I've been at this now for 2 hours and 21 minutes. I think I need to call this live stream done. Now, if you want to support the channel, give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel, click on the bell so you can get notified when I go live again. And if you're into supporting even more, maybe click on the link underneath this video where it says more, and you can click on my website. Maybe consider a membership, or maybe consider a one-to-one coaching session with me where I can help you a little bit more in depth and we can have a Zoom call together. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. These were all really, really super duper awesome questions today. And I thank you all for joining me on the live stream. And if you have ideas for the next live stream, I'm all ears. Put them in the comments underneath this video. I think that would be really, really cool. And thank you, Brain Frog. Thank you, Organic Paul. Dagu, thank you so much for watching. John Doe, I appreciate you watching. Talk 14, thank you. Thank you. Sorbai, I appreciate you watching today. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, stay safe out there. Have a good day, everyone, okay? There's just a little delay, so stay frosty. All right, I'm going for coffee, people. I'm going to go for coffee. I'm going to sit in the backyard for a couple minutes with my dog. Phoenix, thank you, and I'll see you. I'll probably be putting a sketchbook video out soon, but next week we'll do another live stream. Give me some ideas, okay? All right, be good.